Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for tuning in today to listen to episode 4 of the New Mind Cafe podcast. I do want to give you a small disclaimer before we start, and there's a little trigger warning that in this conversation we do have a moment of talking about suicidal tendencies. If you or anyone you know has suicidal ideation or just needs someone to talk to, you can call 988, which is a 24/7 suicide and crisis hotline. You can call or text to talk to a professional at any time. We love you, and you all matter. Hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the New Mind Cafe podcast. I'm here with Myles Haruki.
Yes, it is I.
And I'm Zach Matson, and we are in my living room.
Oh,
currently.
Yeah.
We are, in fact, in my living room. And if you ever at any point hear some jingling, there's a little dog right here. That's my dog. Rayma's here. She'll be a part of this. Just how casual can we make this? I got flip-flops on. I mean, we're doing it. We're doing it.
That reminds me, when I was in undergrad, please don't go back and watch these because there's probably some shit I said that was kind of problematic. But I did these bachelor recap videos with friends, and they were well made for the time. And there were some that we recorded that I didn't have any shoes on, or socks, and my feet were propped up. And I got a lot of feedback, Myles, you got to wear shoes next time.
I was thinking that too. I'm in my own house. I will wear flip-flops at the very least. Myles is wearing socks, in case you're wondering.
Are they matching?
And I'm just, as we do, I'm just sipping on some. I have Coca-Cola this time in my mug.
And I
Cheers.
got white wine, otherwise known as water.
Well, there we go. And here we are.
Yes.
Yep. So I don't know what episode this is.
We'll find out when it's released.
Yeah, so we are here talking about natural theology. Yeah. And before you say, oh, theology, I'm out. Yeah, I don't really like that word theology either, and here's why. As we've shared in the past, Myles and I do come from more Christian backgrounds, and that's kind of what we've been raised in. And so we've also seen how Christianity, in some cases, not all cases, but in some cases can be oppressive and really demanding of other people's beliefs. And so that word theology sometimes insinuates that.
Yes.
I'm using this word theology because I know a true God, and it's we're not saying that. I know things,
and you don't, basically.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, so why, though, we're going to be talking about natural theology today is because I think there is something super important about being creative, about expressing yourself through art and media and whatever it is, that this natural theology thing, for me, has been super helpful and beneficial.
Yeah, and I want to add, I have a complicated relationship with the word theology. I don't need to get too much into the weeds, but obviously there are types of theologies that liberate and bring life, but we both know that isn't the word association that I usually have and most people have. But I want to share this metaphor we've both kind of coined together that'll help drive the point home. If Christianity is the tree, the home base that we are and were implanted in, the point of this episode is to start with the tree that's familiar, but hopefully by digging enough into the roots and the wisdom and the truth, we'll actually be able to find these branches that connect to all sorts of other trees. So whether your thing is not religion, whether your thing is you're a songwriter, or you're a musician, or you're a parent, or a spouse, whatever it is, the hope is that there's something that we can find in mind by digging into the particularity of our native tongue that we grew up in. Because I think we also, by speaking vulnerably about our stories, and you guys will certainly hear more going forward in interviews and stuff, we also don't want to shy away from owning where we come from. Because how can we go where we need to if we can't figure out a way to reconcile and own what came before. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Part of our creative process with this podcast is we kind of just have we have like pretty frequent hour-long, 2-hour-long conversations, and like it's like, hey dude, what's up? Well, here we go. And then it's just like that 2 hours, and it's wonderful, and I love it. And so part of what we've talked about with this in particular is just, we're going to just let this be what it needs to be.
Yeah.
And I think that ties into what you were saying about our backgrounds, and we're not going to shield away or hide away from our backgrounds. Like, no, that's not who I am anymore. While that might be true, it's still important to acknowledge where we have come from. Because that is our language.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And if we can use that language to, I mean, ultimately we're just trying to communicate with others. And if you have a similar experience and you're not a Christian, awesome. Like, that's where we're at too.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So, yeah. So this natural theology, if you're like, what is that? What does that mean?
I'm wondering too. You sent me your paper and I just skimmed. Zach is teaching me in this episode.
So we're gonna kind of take a time machine here, and we're gonna go to the Enlightenment period. And this is a Western culture kind of thing. So Europeans, what do we say? 1600s, 1700s?
Something like that. You can look it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah. I'm not your professor. Figure it out. In the Enlightenment period, we have this really strange phenomenon of exploration that's happening, I wouldn't say for the first time in human history, but it is big. It's a very complex system of traveling and this country dominating that country and exploring and pilgrimages. And so all of these European nations start spreading out into the world, and they're now being they're stepping into these cultures that they haven't experienced before, through colonizing, through just the slave trade route. Like, all of these different facets of this European culture is now like going out into the world. And so with that, there was a level of like dominance, like we the British people, that's not my British accent, I don't know. We the British people are going to go to South Africa or India, and we are going to teach them what it means to be a civilized people group.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of arrogance there.
Yeah.
I think what they didn't expect was for them to be learning and receiving so much more. They weren't expecting that. So they learned a whole lot about these different regions of the world, different cultures, different people groups, different tribes, different religions, different economic systems, like all these different facets. These Europeans started to gather all this information. And again, it's not like this is like the first time that ever happened, but it is very unique to human history. It was unique that at this massive global scale, there was starting to be this intercultural exchange. Maybe not really an exchange, but a dominance, a point of dominance, of supremacy that was literally, I sound like Rob Lowe from Parks and Rec, unprecedented, unparalleled, like nothing had happened on this scale before this point in time. Right.
But we're not saying this in the sense of like, oh, the West is great. It was like this great superpower. We're like, no, this was actually, in most cases, quite devastating for a lot of people that weren't Westerners, and resulted in a lot of the worldview and systems and structures today that are still entrenched into the fabric of our collective imagination. That's it.
Yeah, and so with that too, with that exploration, there's people from Europe moving throughout different parts of the world, including like the United States of America now. So like this is the same about the same time that the country is getting developed and the Constitution and all that. So like the United States and the Enlightenment period is this sort of, the development of United States and the Enlightenment period is sort of this like integral part of human history.
Yeah.
But yes, it does have so much baggage, so much negativity, oppression. This is also where like racism sort of gets thrown into human history. Like this is a man-made construct. Like this just happened because we have these like white Europeans that said, "Hey, I'm more educated than this person of color."
Yeah. That's where constructs like whiteness and blackness literally became constructed to separate people. But that's a whole nother history lesson. But so, it's part of that.
So I would say, from what I've researched from, again, because of my Christian background and like where I went to school, like this is a topic that I spent a lot of time in. No, there was no professor that said, "Hey, read up on this."
So hold on a second. You're not so we're going somewhere. You did not discover supremacy. That's not the topic that lit you up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was no. There's nothing you're saying that's wrong. I just want to like help frame this. So when you found this topic amidst this context of superiority, enlightenment, supremacy, how did natural theology open you up?
Yeah.
And give you more expansive ways of relating to other things.
Yeah, thank you. This time of the Enlightenment was a time of, like I said, exploration. Yeah. And that exploration also forced a lot of people to ask a lot of questions.
Like for any Big Bang Theory fans. I haven't seen an episode, but I'm just using that catchphrase. I got that from my good friend Niwala. But anyways,
which you can listen to some of their songs on Spotify.
That's true.
Yeah. Newalla. Is that right?
Newalla. Yes.
Go listen to it. Good music. Anyways, dude,
wait,
what?
Newalla. It's Niwalla. Sorry, let's stay on target. Stay on target. Star Wars ref.
Okay, so this Enlightenment period was a place of asking so many questions. In some ways, for the first time for human history, because now we have these Europeans that are not in this vacuum of their own little bubble and their own little world, their own little culture. Because now they're infiltrating in many ways. They're stepping into these other cultures. And so, like I said, they're being hit right away, right off the bat, right off the boat. Sorry, that was messed up. I guess it's true.
It's okay. Keep going.
They're getting hit with different religions, different ways of, hey, how did this world come to be? Or how about this one? Hey, the world's not flat like we thought it used to be. Like that. This is all like in the span of human history. This is new to us. The world is round, and we're not going to just sail off the edge. And
maybe the Earth is older than 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Perhaps.
You see, there's a topic right there, because that is something that sparked from natural theology. I'm sorry. The natural theology sparked from Enlightenment was questions like that.
There we go.
Maybe the world isn't 6,000 years old like our Christian background tells us. So whatever cosmological background you come from, whatever creation narrative your tribe, your people has, I don't want to discredit any of that. Okay. So if you are a Christian, I'm not saying you're dumb because you believe that. That's not what I'm saying. That is a worldview. That is someone's perspective. And who am I to judge that? What I am saying is that now in human history, in this Enlightenment period, we have human beings saying or asking these questions of, oh, maybe there's so much more than what I had originally thought.
Bazinga. Yeah.
And so, then you start getting... Oh, do you have something to say?
No. My hands are getting excited. I'm following. I'm vibing. Yeah.
Then you start having people... you have people opposing that worldview too. So if there's people going out and exploring and then asking these new questions, I mean, this is one more aspect to throw in here. This is like when Charles Darwin's exploring the Galapagos Islands. Like, there's so much shift coming out of this period of human history.
And that's where it is important to say, like, it's hard to hold this tension together because obviously while the West has a very, what word could I use? Like a loaded history, we also have things like the Enlightenment and modernity to thank for in regards to a lot of scientific progress where it's really complicated. They both kind of sit together. So you have folks like Charles Darwin who, he created this theory of evolution, which created this massive paradigm shift. Yeah. And while there is like racism baked into the fabric and all that shit baked into the fabric of it, there's also things that brought us towards new possibilities. Yeah. But you have to hold this weird tension together. It's like a lot of these progress narratives that come around are often baked into this idea of Western supremacy. Yes. So I say this all to say it's a difficult soup that we're kind of working with, a complex assortment of items that we're living in.
Yeah, like you said, because it has its historical, like, well, this is something that's been used to silence others.
Oh yeah,
So there is that component, and you do need to tread lightly on that, and you need to acknowledge those things and not just pretend like it didn't happen. Nope. Like, no, these are true components of what did happen in human history. Yeah. And we're also acknowledging today, hopefully, the positive sides of this Enlightenment period, and then how natural theology came out of this.
Yes. So why don't we go to like you and natural, for you as like a Bible college Christian, how did natural theology help you to see things in a more expansive and constructive and real way?
Yeah. Natural theology seemed to be the bridge of this gap that I think the Enlightenment just left behind. And that gap was science versus religion.
I see.
And that's it. What?
That's it, yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. Bazinga. I was trying to figure out another way of not saying bazinga, and I just could think of that's it. But I'll stick to bazinga. So how did natural theology mend that?
Yeah. So with it being science versus religion, you get this very dualistic mindset. You get this black or white, this or that, right or left mindset.
Separating the sacred from the secular.
Yeah. Okay, so with this point of human history, we now have these scientists, these philosophers, these astronomers, this chemists. Like, we have all these kinds of people asking these scientific questions, and these questions are asking more of, here's the world in front of me. Here's what I've observed. I'm documenting this. I'm going to maybe write a thesis paper on this, and then some other scientist, whatever, is going to come and say, actually, no, this is what I've seen with the world. This is what I've seen with the natural world. This is what I've seen with physics and astronomy, with anatomy, like whatever. And so you have all these scientific things developing. And what gets left behind now is you're stepping in away from religious components of your worldview, and you're stepping into, no, that makes sense. Like, I can see that logically. That's a rational thing, and that's something like so natural for us as human beings to want to do. Yeah, we can only believe and perceive what is right in front of us. And so then religion sort of gets left behind. In this way that's like, well, now you're having these two worldviews clashing. Yeah. Because the person asking questions, the scientist and the observer of the natural world, is asking these deep, profound questions that religion may not have recorded in their sacred texts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so Christianity is just one, for example, but there's so many others where there's the story of how the world came to be in the Bible is now being challenged and like put in the boxing ring with science, because science is saying a different thing.
Yeah.
And so you can see how there's this tension. There's people getting pulled apart and saying, no, I'm going to stick with what I believe because that's my tradition. That's where I come from.
And I will
Who are you to tell me that my God didn't do that? Like, you get the people saying that, and then you also get people saying, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like what we have observed scientifically and historically, like with archaeology and all this evidence, like it doesn't make sense. So you get these people fighting. Were you going to
I was just going to say a little church history lesson. That's when things like fundamentalism came out of this period. I think now this is later on in like the 19th century, the 1800s. Things like fundamentalism came out of this desire to sort of defend the status quo against theories like evolution.
Yeah.
But it creates this polarization where you have like the Fox News preacher talking about whatever he's talking about. Like all the things that comes to my mind are just so horrible and offensive to say. I'm not going to say them. But on the other side, you have like the folks like Richard Dawkins or Sam Harris. I think that's the right name, of like these radical atheists who are sort of people who are like saying like, we got to leave these superstitious, inherently toxic religions behind in favor of more science, more progress. And it created this dualism. That's what I'm between science and religion.
Yeah.
Like they're just completely in tension. They cannot fit together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you for that.
Yeah.
We kind of started this conversation about natural theology and its correlation to like being creative.
Yeah.
So here it is. Here's when there's something about each and every single one of us, I would argue, that is striving for something. Are you familiar with the philosophy of nihilism?
Yeah, somewhat. Like Friedrich Nietzsche, or however you pronounce his name.
That sounds right to me. I've only read it. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sorry, people who know stuff.
But nihilism, or nihilism, as some have called it, is this, it's like complete despair. And so it's a philosophy, more so of just, you're absolutely negative. You have nothing to live for. But the argument of nihilism, in essence, doesn't really make sense, because it's like, there is something within each of us. Now, please don't get me wrong. And little trigger warning here. There are people that have suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
There are people that cannot understand like where their place is in the world.
Yeah.
And they do come to those measures. And so that's, I know we just got really heavy. I'm sorry. But nihilism at its most rooted essence is that there is nothing. There is no thing that you can do that is worth it, that has any kind of meaning. And so even for those that have had suicidal ideation, there still is an action that they are trying to accomplish that then would be a sort of relief. And this is where nihilism just seems not fully accurate of the human experience.
There's something in all of us, whether meaning is constructed or inherently there is up for debate. But there's something in all of us that is longing for more. Yeah.
And so that's why I think nihilism doesn't necessarily work.
Yeah.
Because that longing. And forgive me again, that's why I did bring up those with suicidal ideation, because like there is a longing for this pain to end or whatever they're feeling.
Yeah, and there's certainly other cultures that handle completing suicide better than the United States, but that's a whole other conversation. And I want to say, so we can be as inclusive as possible, if you are agnostic, leaning atheist, if you're atheist, if you are a fan of nihilism as a philosophy, we're not turning this into like this all-encompassing frame. What we're just trying to say is whoever you are and where you are, you have ways of constructing purpose and meaning. Even if that purpose is like we're all sort of making it up. So I'm going to wing it to trying to, whatever it is, that's what we're getting at. There's this inherent meaning-making drive that is inherent to being human. This longing for more, this desire for more, this longing for completion, this this inner desire.
Completion, yeah. And so, like, for some of us, that is creating. For some of us, that is going to church. For some of us, that is there's all these different ways of this sort of. I feel like I'm complete or I'm whole.
Yeah.
When I do this or that, I am whole.
That sense of, any artists know that sense of flow, that when you find this thing that you're in love with, you enter into sort of this timeless space where you forget that you're living in time and you're just in the flow. And you can find that when you're making love, or whatever it is, there's this flow that we can all experience. And I think what we're trying to say is that's what we're ultimately trying to get at. Do you mind if I interject a little bit?
No, please.
Because in that, what the modern world and what fundamental forms of religion tend to do is say that there is a separation between the thing that lights you up and the real thing.
It's this or that. You have to pick one.
Complete parsing of like things. But what we're trying to say, and we're a concept like natural theology, once gave you life, is there is no sort of division between what you love and where the life is. It's actually in the thing that you love doing.
It's a very holistic approach.
Yeah.
So it takes both sides and it unifies them now. For me, that's what it's done.
I love that.
So, let me just throw one other thing.
Yeah, please.
So I think when we were talking about science versus religion, science in comparison to religion, you pick one side or the other. I think what the difference there too is that religion often is it is a revealed. It's something that is revealed from a divine source. Religion is often, organized religion at least, is often centered around a sacred text, or Jesus Christ is called to be the revelation of God incarnate. And so, like, there's this thing that reveals itself, the divine in some way reveals itself, and then a religion is formed around that thing.
Yeah, that experience, that, yeah.
And so you can see also, like, how a lot of people have that tension because science doesn't offer that. Science just says, this is what's right here.
Cold, abstract facts.
Yeah, it's
facts
very,
don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, it's very,
Ben
like,
Shapiro.
it can be very robotic. It doesn't have emotions attached to it.
Yeah.
But that's where, like, natural theology, for me, has been that place of, I get to appreciate the sacred, and I get to appreciate the realities of the world.
Yeah, because scientists, I'm sure there's scientists that experience flow through their research.
Oh, yeah.
I want to share this story to kind of take the abstract and bring it to the real, concrete flesh and blood. But around Christmas time of last year, I hit this rock bottom where I realized that I am an alcoholic. And it's not mine to share all the details of the story online. But let's just say it was something that was a real hard crash and burn for me. And around this time, I had been reading some stuff about what we're talking about, some books on spirituality, which I hope isn't a word that scares people. But I remember I was dog sitting at someone's house, and I remember I was reading this poem, and it was something where I'd been reading, and in that rock bottom of realizing I'm an alcoholic, so much of that striving for alcohol and completion came from my own striving for that sense of completeness that I don't live from. But there was sort of this light bulb switch where I felt I was literally sitting in the living room reading this poem, and all of a sudden I felt filled with this enlivening sense of presence and life. Like there was this animating, larger than me source that filled me up, and I felt this sense of flow. And because I had been reading stuff about there's no such thing as sacred and secular, I was with this dog, and I was like so excited to feel this sense of completion. Whatever the word is, the words are just pointers to the experience. But I remember directing my energy towards this cute, adorable dog. What was the dog breed? It was a pit bull named Bella.
Pitbull, right? Yeah.
Bella. And I remember sharing this moment with her where I was like petting her. And it was the first time I made, for lack of a better word, it felt like I was making soul-to-soul contact with an animal. And by that I mean, here is a thing, a creature, a living thing that's not fundamentally different from me. This dog is experiencing this present moment. And it filled me with so much joy because it felt like I was part of it with another creature. I was a creature experiencing the joy and wonder of being alive with another creature. Yeah. There was no sense of separation between me and the dog. It was actually, we were two creatures experiencing life. So when we talk about concepts like natural theology, the danger is it can be turned into a concept and a thing that turns people away. And even when I use words like soul and spirituality, I'm aware of that danger too. But I think what we're trying to get at is there's a sense of there being an inherent purpose and dignity and flow to everything. And even the wisdom of ecology tells us that everything is connected to everything else. Everything is connected to each other. Trees are connected to, we're all part of this ecology, this ecosystem together. And what we're trying to get at, however you construct meaning to understand the experience of seeing like a sunset and your inner self lights up, we're talking about that sense. And it's not a sense where there's one worldview to make sense of it, but it's an experience, a flow, a knowing of your own innate dignity that draws you to see the dignity of everyone and everything around you, that there is inherent matterness and purpose. Whatever that experience, however you make meaning out of that, I don't care. I think all of us have experienced some form of flow. And we've all gone to concerts where we know we're a part of a larger thing than us, or go to sport. I hope
there's this interconnectedness.
That's the word. This Bazinga.
That's it.
Interconnectedness. That's it. That's what I've been trying to say.
There's this web of, you are not your own self anymore. That's right. You're not this individual just kind of skating by. Just if you haven't experienced this, maybe just go to a busy city center somewhere and just sit down and don't think about yourself for a moment, but try to put yourself in the shoes of the person walking in front of you. And just what is that person doing today? Are they going grocery shopping? I wonder if they have a family. You can get really sentimental with it, and it doesn't take much.
No, or go camping or go to Yosemite. I think we're trying to get at this sense of wonder and awe and trust that our lives are unfolding, our stories are unfolding, and we're part of some whole.
Yeah.
However you want to name it, I don't fucking care. But the sense of being a part of something larger than yourself, which is why we're interviewing people like actors and dungeon masters, Dungeons and Dragons, campaign leaders, and all sorts of people without being like, shout out to Paul and Michael Garcia, and politics, because we have this
Michael Garcia was too?
No, he's the actor. He's the actor. I interviewed him.
Oh, okay.
But anyways,
sorry.
We're interested in these particular lanes people are in because we're interested in that flow, and we don't believe. I have a spirituality, and that spirituality and my theology tells me there's no such thing as a part that is isolated and a thing that has no meaning. Because I believe whatever it is, the thing that gives you purpose and meaning is the thing. And that's what we're trying to lay up some groundwork for the rest of this show. This is like our, that's it. Bazinga!
So, I mean, natural theology often can be shut down. Because, I mean, here's why. If you find that common ground, now people are like, no, I'm fine with my science side. I'm fine with my religious side. Don't try to bridge that gap for me. People do get pretty upset about it. There have been people that I've talked to, so I don't want to like discredit that.
No.
So what's been super helpful for me with natural theology and why this has just kind of been, I mean, it's been like this unlocking of sorts for me.
I like that.
Because it allows me to be able to talk to people from both sides. And it doesn't discredit either one. And so just to explain a little bit more, natural theology is, as we view the world in its natural components, as we view quantum physics and stars and space and the cosmological aspects of the world and evolutionary theory, like as we examine these things that science has brought us and history and archaeology brings us, we can then piece together what is the sacredness with this. And so we're taking the physical realm of our natural world, and it helps us observe and say, this is my favorite one, the earth is just the right amount of distance from the sun. If it were 5 degrees hotter, we wouldn't be here. If it were 5 degrees colder, we wouldn't be here. You know, like it's the right amount of distance away from the sun in order for life on this planet to become what it is as we know it. How it got there, I mean, that's the debate, right? Is it evolution? Did God make it in 6 days? Like, that's the debate. But I'll just say, like, for me, it made it not so much matter. How we got here. What matters so much for me is that we are here, and that's not an accident. And so that thing that I've been striving for, as we've been talking about, like, I'm able to get that from art and creativity and all that. I'm getting it right now. Like, as we're having this conversation, like, I've been working super hard to make this podcast stuff happen. And like, I'm just excited to be able to do this. So like, I'm feeling it right in this very moment. As a creative expression. There's this way though, that I did feel this sort of, it was similar. It was a similar experience of what you shared with the dog. With Bella. Except I was by myself. So I love going outside. And when I say nature and natural theology, like, just know that I am talking about two different things, like nature, outside, wilderness. Natural theology is more of just human logic and like what we're able to experience. It's very self-evident. It's right before us. But so when I love nature, and there are moments in nature where I just have this, like you said, like this just breathtaking experience. And so I had this, I was kind of in this, conflicting moment of my life. I was trying to decide if I should stay at a job or not. Because this job wasn't super fulfilling. It didn't give me that sort of, this is it, you know? And so I was deciding, should I stay at this job? Should I step down from this job? What are the components? What are the aspects of going into this? Like, what am I getting away from, or what am I stepping now towards? Like, that's where I was at. And so I went on this hike to just kind of escape, get out. And I go up on this mountain in Southern California. And cool thing about hiking in Southern California is, like, you can climb pretty much any mountain and you'll be on this high spot and you are able to, like, look down on all of these cities around you. And so I get up to this high spot, and there is something that I've experienced through the Bible. I don't know if this is true with other sacred texts, but there is something about getting to a high spot that makes it like holy ground in the Bible. And I think that was in my mind, but not necessarily. Like, I'm just kind of walking and doing my thing and trying to escape and get out. And so I get to this high spot, and there is this moment for me of just looking out onto the people below. And like I just said, like with the city, going into the city square or whatever, like being able to see so many people, so many cars going by on the freeway and down this road and down that road, and seeing this kid play in his backyard and seeing that person going to the grocery store, like seeing, just zooming out in real time with my own eyes, being able to see all these people doing their thing. There was this moment for me of going, oh, I'm so small.
Wow.
But not insignificant, but I'm small, and I'm here, and I'm experiencing this, and this is amazing. And so I sat down and I meditated. Just right then and there, I just put down something on the ground, and I just sat down. And I just sat, and I was just quiet, and I closed my eyes, just trying to hear what I could hear. And really, like, I was so high up, I could only hear the wind around me. And then I just started, forgive me if this sounds crazy, but if you can relate, this is for you. I started just saying these words of positivity. And there were some religious, like, Christian words that came to mind, but peace and love and tranquility, and all these words just started rushing to me. And I vocalized them because it was like, I need to get this out. I need to express it vocally. I need to put this out in the universe, or whatever you want to call it. And this moment of meditating it was those words. And so again, I'm coming from this state of like, what do I do? Am I in the right spot? I'm kind of freaking out. I get to the top of the mountain though, and it's just like this place of relief, and that those things that I was conflicted with didn't even matter anymore.
I love that.
So I'm sitting down, I'm meditating, and then this is if what I said before was crazy, this is even crazier.
Let's hear it.
But the best way I can explain it is the wind started picking up, and it felt like it was surrounding me in such a way, and it felt like I was getting a hug almost, like I was getting this embrace, and that was a moment for me of, this is the natural world. Now, I've shared that with Christians, and they go, dude, you had a God moment, you know?
Perhaps.
The God moment language, though, like, it wasn't helpful for me. It didn't feel like there was this divine presence of God.
Because it felt like that was trying to pin it into a box that didn't fit.
Yeah. And like, I don't even, like, was it the universe? Like, I don't have like a word for it.
It was what it was.
It was what it was. Yeah. And it was what it needed to be in that moment for me. And that was enough for me to go, whether I call that God like an old man in the clouds God, or this is like just what it means to be human, and what it means to experience the divine in that way.
Or God is like the face or the metaphor for the thing
Yeah.
that manifested into the universe.
Yeah, like it wasn't necessary for that moment for me.
That's totally
And
okay.
so here's where the sacred of like the religious stuff going through my head met this was just the wind.
Huh.
To put it so scientific and robotic, the wind was blowing and felt good and it cooled me off a little bit. Like I can absolutely talk about it that way, but
it gave you what you needed.
It gave me exactly what I needed. It allowed me a spot to meditate and reflect and to go to feel that interconnectedness.
Yeah.
That I'm an individual here, but I'm not alone. And I'm small, but I'm not insignificant.
That's good.
So natural theology,
natural theology. Do you mind if I?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I don't. Because this could turn into one of our 2-hour chats really easily.
Love it.
But something that was like stirring up in my heart as you were sharing, is I think in both of our experiences, they had to do with like a rock bottom and a place of searching. And I think one lesson, if this episode does not resonate with you, it's totally okay. Because whatever it is that gets you into the flow, that's where it is. But also, I hope one thing I'm taking away from this conversation is that there are no detours in our human journey, and even the things that feel like even the things that feel like setbacks or distractions, or things that feel like hitting the rock bottom or not knowing where your place is. That's part of it. Welcome to the club. Yeah. And it was like, whatever language you want to put for it, I'll try to use it in as plain language as possible. But in our moments of searching, of seeking, we were met. And we were we were graced with reminders that these moments of hitting rock bottom or of not knowing what the fuck we're doing, it's not the end of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think natural theology can be a great pointer to reminding us that there is no such thing as a detour wherever you are in your journey of being you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any such thing as a detour. Or as Gandalf said, is it Gandalf who said, not all who wander are lost? I think that was Gandalf.
Was it Yoda?
That is heresy for my ears. That is more heresy than anything you've said. Anyways, but thanks for sharing that vulnerable moment.
Yeah.
And I hope for anyone that's listening, you can feel empowered to follow whatever brings you to flow and whatever allows you to realize that you are significant.
Yeah.
You're small. I love what you said. You're small and you're significant. Mm-hmm. It's like that feeling of looking up at the stars both realizing how small you are, but also how significant you are.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's almost a collective experience we all have, is just looking at things larger than us and being like, but we're here.
Yeah.
And how does that make any sense?
And how can this be an accident?
How? You know? And even if it is an accident, what a wonderful accident.
What a wonderful accident. I heard Bill Nye say something along these
Everyone's
lines.
favorite science guy.
The science guy himself.
The God-man Bill Nye. That's the new religion I'm joining. Bill Nye is God incarnate. And
he was arguing. Here's a great example of science versus religion. Bill Nye, the science guy, was fighting
Ken Ham?
I don't remember who it was.
I'm pretty sure he's like a big...
The Noah's Ark guy?
Yeah, the Noah's Ark guy.
Yeah. If you don't know what we're talking about, just go ahead and look it up. It's a great... I loved this little debate. But anyways, like, Bill Nye went into this like Christian facility museum type thing, and Bill Nye was just... I mean, I'll be real, like, he was pretty angry the whole time. And so that's what I don't like about that dualistic quality of our society of like, it's either this or that. Like, you need to pick one or the other.
Yeah. It's either something or it's nothing.
Yeah.
And you can't kind of float in the in-between of sometimes being like, oh, there's something, and then other days being like, there's got to be nothing here.
Yeah. So the Christian guy, Ken Ham, is telling Bill Nye, like, all this stuff about his religion and, like, what happened in the Bible and what's written down. And the Christian guy goes, so, like, how would you explain all of, like, I would call that a miracle. And Bill Nye said, I'm not going to quote it exactly, but he said something along the lines of, like, the miracle is that, like, we are here and we get to experience it right now. Like, the fact that you and I are here in this point of, like quantum physics history is a kind of a miracle. Absolutely. You're right. Insane. Like, and I get to experience that right here, right now, in this moment. And
bazinga.
Well, that about wraps it up. That's
a great way to end. Yeah. Any last parting word you want to give as we close this?
No, I think you nailed it with bazinga.
Bazinga.
Yeah.
And that if anyone gets anything out of this, it's that you matter. And I live with the fundamental conviction that you matter, and if I matter, everyone matters. Yeah. However you get there, I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah. You're made of matter, so you are matter.
Yeah, quite literally, you matter. Bazinga, right? All right, Sheldon.
But you matter, and what you do with your life, I would say, matters too.
Yeah.
And
somehow you got to get there at some point, however you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Myles, hey, you matter. So thank you. Thanks for being right here in this cosmological moment with me.
Cosmological moment. All right, friends. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks for tuning in.
Bazinga!
Thank you all so much for listening to this New Mind Cafe podcast. We really appreciate your support with this journey of exploring creative people and getting inspired by many different art forms. If you enjoyed the music on this episode, well, that was all original work by me, and if you want to hear more original music, you can check out our band called New Mind Collective. When I'm not working on music or podcast episodes, I'm working on the other component of my small business, which is roasting coffee. So if you want to follow along all of what my business New Mind Cafe is doing in the coffee and the arts industries, then please check out our website at www.neumindcafe.com. On there you'll find upcoming events, gigs, podcast episodes, music, products, and all the links to the social media and platforms to stream music. If you are enjoying this podcast, please like, subscribe, leave a rating, or comment wherever you're hearing this podcast. And please, please, please share this with others. We are trying to spread the word about what we are doing, and we want to include others in this as well. So if you or someone you know is creative and wants to share, then please email us at neumindcafe@gmail.com. Thank you all again, and have such a great day.